Hello, this is Dr. Jason Munsell. I'm back for the third part of Chapter 3, demonstrations. And so, in light of all the stuff that Joshua has said, generally speaking, about democracy and participation, moves to some examples. Demonstrations. You know what demonstrations like protests, right? Also known as body rhetoric, because we're actually using our body to do stuff. You know, there's lots of different things that have happened over the past. Back in the day, when, people rioted, burned stuff, pillaged, that stuff may change, but we don't want to do that. No pillaging here. So our history of demonstrations in the United States has been mostly nonviolent protests, but that's all part of a broader strategy, a broader process. So Joshua talks about successful social movements often use multiple strategies all at once. Social movement might organize serious demonstrations, but also conduct local teach-ins or workshops, write op-eds for the newspaper, distribute flyers, pamphlets, build broad coalitions, and lobby local city officials. So, in other words, social change often relies upon a multi-pronged approach that evolves, but is not limited to street demonstration. Hello, no, we won't go. What do we want? Tacos. When do we want them now? No, it's not Taco Tuesday, is it? It's Monday. What do we have? Okay. Meat Monday, but we're not supposed to say meat. We're supposed to say flesh. Pig flesh. But in any case, so, and what also Joshua argues is that a lot of folks who are doing demonstrations are under the influence. They're under the influence of anarchy. Anarchist approaches to democracy. That's what, we're doing. And that's what basically this is his definition. He doesn't say it like this, but this is his definition, I think, of anarchist approaches to democracy. For these organizers, the movement itself is an opportunity to challenge hierarchy and to create a space where people can act democratically for the common good. It's not just the movement's agenda that matters. The democracy that the movements create in the process of mobilizing is also, and perhaps even more, important. So getting rid of the hierarchy, getting rid of the control spaces of democracy. And then, of course, lots of specific examples here, like the World Trade Organization, WTO, demonstrations in Seattle. I'll let you read a lot of that stuff. But basically, he argues that was a democratic space. A lot of folks worked together on this, different affinity groups, that is, groups that have affinity for one another. Like-minded groups worked together in this process. And basically, he moves into talking about the Zapatistas, the rebellion. But, again, that's sort of the idea that a lot of that stuff was influenced also the protests of the World Trade Organization. But the point is, through demonstrations, we can expand democracy. Okay, that's pretty much it. Not a whole lot of ideas in this particular section, except demonstrations can be democratic. Okay. But there's always dilemmas to democracy. Anybody who says democracy is awesome, always awesome. Come on, folks, let's think. He talks about all the various dilemmas. We have this idea of direct democracy, where everybody has a say, but we want to move toward consensus building oftentimes, because sometimes, It says direct democracy, as opposed to representative democracy, takes power out of the hands of elected officials, places it into the hands of the public, popular control. But direct democracy itself can be misleading, because oftentimes it involves consensus decision making. But the thing is, we live in a representative democracy, right? So we elect representatives, and then they go and make pretty much all the decisions. So direct democracy, for instance, I've got an old mentor who used to say that we should not have the president or whatever, and then approved by the House and Senate, create budgets, that we should decide individually where we want our tax money to go. That would be sort of cool. Here's you got a set, amount that you have to give, but you decide exactly where you want that money to go. His argument is that the budget would look a lot different. But sometimes, when we have ballot propositions, we can, sort of enact or engage in direct democracy. But oftentimes, people aren't informed enough about what, you go into the polls, what the hell is all this stuff, proposition to, name, I don't know, just crazy stuff. And so what happens is that people become ill-informed because oftentimes we have these, groups that will profit off of certain things, or will not profit after certain things, and they use propaganda and all that type of stuff. So we have this interesting, when thinking about direct democracy, we have this interesting sort of contrast between grassroots and astroturf. Astroturf movements are used by institutions of power to generate a bandwagon effect. People are tricked into believing that a majority of the public supports a cause. People then jump on the bandwagon. And the bandwagon, not the bandwagon. Get off the bandwagon, get on the bandwagon. Yeah, that's really sad. People are so greedy. But oftentimes we think that we're voting for, something. Oh, that sounds good. Yeah. Oh, I saw a commercial about this. Yeah. But we don't take the time to sort of know all the details. So even direct democracy has some problems. Oh, what? I can't believe I didn't vote for that. Oh, yeah, you did. Okay, and then of course we live in the world of propaganda, where folks sort of trick us again into thinking certain things. And again, we also have this larger idea of the tyranny of the majority. Majority rules, but what happens if the majority are a bunch of dumb, which is one of the reasons, again, why we have the Electoral College, though it doesn't always work out. And oftentimes, the tyranny of the majority can expand xenophobia, which is, again, the fear of anybody who's not you, religious repression. It's seen the recent